That's cool.
Really?
Yeah, except I don't think the Baskin Robbins crap. They should have like
That's what I want.
pink barriers. Oh, crap.
Ice cream. I want ice cream. I don't want stuff that
Well,
comes
if
out
you
of
get a good
powder.
ice cream, then at least get decent. Well, I don't know. I guess that's healthier than eating Haagen-Dazs or cold stuff.
Who cares about healthy?
Ice crappy, but at least that's better for you. Yeah, I gotta give this to Michelle.
Let's go. Let's get started. Yeah. Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the Villa Park City Council. I hereby call the meeting to order. Jared, will you please call the roll?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilwoman Fasenelli.
Present.
Councilman Mills.
Here.
Councilwoman Polly.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Barnett.
Present.
Mayor Reese.
Here. Thank you. Today I'd like to ask Dennis Kulai if he'd lead us in the pledge.
Please begin. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. Thank you, Dennis. At this time, I'd like to ask all those in the audience to please silence your cell phone or turn them off if possible. The Villa Park City Council and staff welcome you to this meeting, and we encourage your participation. If you wish to speak on an item contained on the agenda, please approach the podium at the time the item is being considered. After I recognize you, state your name and address for the record prior to providing your comments. Speakers will be limited to a time period of 3 minutes in most cases. If you wish to speak on an item that is not on the agenda, please do so during the period listed for oral communications. At this time, I'd like to ask our city attorney to report on closed session.
Yes, there's no reportable action. We did add a matter under significant exposure to litigation, and we discussed that as well, but like I said, with no reportable action.
Great, thank you so much. Okay, so tonight, our first presentation is an update from the Villa Park Community Service Foundation.
There's nobody else here but...
You going to wing it, Jill?
Well, I just need to warn Lieutenant Gunzel that the British are coming. There's going to be a British invasion on August 2nd for a concert in the park, so I hope you will be prepared, because the Beatles group is going to be fabulous. But before they come, there'll be some wonderful students from Villa Park who will be doing the Pledge of Allegiance, that's for sure, and our community band from Villa Park. August 2nd to everyone, 7 o'clock at Villa Park High School. Great food. There are some local groups that will be making some few dollars, selling us hot dogs, nachos, and cheese, and fish and chips, plus sweets and treats, and it's guaranteed to be a fun night, and just rock out with your favorite group. Jude.
Sounds like fun, Jill. I will definitely be there.
Hey, Mayor, if I could interrupt you, I forgot to do this. I should have done this with my closed session report. We need to vote on the potential addition of another matter to the open session agenda, and that's pertaining to the sewer rehabilitation contract. We had some issues on Lincoln Street pertaining to that, and we need to take action to repair that before the next meeting. So if you wish to report on that, if we could have a 4/5 vote to add that to open session.
Okay, I'll make the motion to add it.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mayor Reese.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Barnett.
Yes.
Councilwoman Fasenelli.
Yes.
Councilwoman Polly.
Yes.
Councilman Mills.
Yes. Great, thank you so much.
So that will be at the end of new business. So number 12 and a half.
Oh, yeah.
So like a 12B?
Okay, next, I'd like to ask for a presentation from the Orange County Fire Authority. Chief, can you come up and give us some input?
Mayor, council members, thank you very much for the opportunity. Several items, just wanted to update you on fireworks. As far as the 4th of July, we responded to 4 fireworks-related calls here in Villa Park. During the time frame around the holiday, all were for fireworks complaints, and we were only able to find 1, and they were legal fireworks, so that was fine. The other were unfounded. So no other issues on July 4th as far as Villa Park is concerned. We're still compiling statistics countywide. They're still coming in. But there were 39 fireworks-related injuries in Orange County. That's up from 19 from last year. There seems to be an increase in illegal fireworks. Of the known injuries, 9 were from Safe and Sane, and 9 were from illegal fireworks. The other 21 injuries were unknown at this point as far as whether it was Safe and Sane or legal fireworks that caused it. Still compiling the total number of fires. Those numbers are still coming in. Some calls are still under investigation. We have had several fires, but there is one case that has been confirmed already in Buena Park. It was a bottle rocket into a shake shingle roof that caused $260,000 of damage to heavily damaged a home. Unfortunately, it was on the eve of the couple's 39th wedding anniversary.
Oh, wow.
So that was bad. Other issues as far as fire authority are concerned, HMDO inspections. The board voted last month to issue refunds for HMDO inspections. There are 4 businesses in Villa Park that are eligible for those refunds, totaling $2,960. There, as far as our jurisdiction, it totaled 2,259 businesses that are eligible for refunds for a total of about $1.7 million, as you saw that on the vote. Last week, we had an equity meeting. OCFA presented a potential solution to this very difficult issue, if you will, to the city of Irvine and to the committee. Villa Park, as you know, is a structural fire fund city, and under the old calculation that's still currently in place, Villa Park is overfunded. However, the new calculation, it is not going to be an overfunded city, so it's not included in one of the overfunded cities. In the new calculation with the proposal, it's Irvine, Laguna Woods, Santa Margarita, San Juan Capistrano, and the county. And then the last issue that I have here are drownings. I just wanted to remind everybody, unfortunately, in the month of July, we've had 4 fatal pediatric drownings, a couple of 2-year-olds and a couple of 3-year-olds. And those are very preventable, tragic events, and I just wanted to remind everybody that children drown without a sound. They're not going to make a big splash or anything like that. So if you're having a party, especially if you have a backyard pool, really somebody needs to watch the water, because these truly are tragic events and they're very preventable. So that's it.
Great, thank you so much, Chief. Okay, next I would like to announce that this year at the Orange County Fair, the Orange County Fair will be paying tribute to Orange County cities and communities in special ways. Villa Park Day is Friday, August 9th, and the fair invites the community to come and get it and join your fellow residents on that day. So I know I'll be going down there to say a few words. It sounds like fun. Kind of a new thing they're doing this year. So we'll see how that goes. Orange County Sheriff's Lieutenant Gunzel.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. For the crime stats for June, great month for lack of crime stats. For all of June, we have 5 reportable Part 1 crimes. Only 1 residential burglary, which someone got into the house while the residents were home and took a laptop. Wow. 1 malicious mischief, where someone threw a brick through someone's car window, and the other 3 were all at the high school, where someone took a cell phone that was sitting on a bench in the gym. 2 things from that bag, and then actually 3 things from the school. So pretty uneventful as far as crime stats go this month. For the 4th of July, as we discussed prior, we had 4 deputies out here, and not including myself. I was out here till about 10 o'clock at night. We had 12 total fireworks-related calls on the 4th. We had no arrests and no citations and no confiscations. So it's pretty quiet. Busy night for calls, but not busy night for activity. Any questions? That's all I have for this.
Questions?
I haven't, not on this issue. I have an issue that I'd like to bring up, and it has to do with an incident that occurred at the end of June at a house near Saravilla Middle School. 5:30 in the morning, someone banging on the door, the glass door, and the resident being quite scared. When I first questioned staff about this, I was told it was because they did not call 911, and they instead went straight through to the dispatch number. They used our just routine dispatch number. I question, because what I understand is that it happened to be during shift change that this incident occurred, and that means that everyone was in Santa Ana and that we had no coverage here and they had to come from Santa Ana. I would ask that we look at that shift change, how it is executed, so that there is not a time when the city is not covered.
Was it 5:30 in the morning?
It was 5:30 in the morning, 5:30 in the morning.
Well,
It took over 20 minutes for anyone to respond, and we're fortunate that it happened to someone who maybe didn't know exactly where they were and thought they were at home, but it was very, very frightening for the resident. And if it hadn't been that kind of a situation, and it took 20 minutes because it happened to be during shift change, that is unacceptable. The residents certainly felt like it was unacceptable, and there are many residents who are talking about this, and so I would still like us to look at how that shift change happens, and perhaps I'd like to have a report, quite frankly, on how that shift change occurs, and if there's a way that it can be modified, especially in a city like Villa Park. We're far away from, headquarters, and we don't have a lot of law enforcement to speak of routinely. So I know you have some answer to that, but I still want more of an answer.
All right. No,
Let me add to that before you respond, because it may not just be a shift change issue. There was an individual on my street that was defrauding the neighbors, selling expired soccer tickets or something. I forget what they were. They were getting $5 a piece or something like that. And I bought one. My wife said, "You idiot, season's over." And I said, okay. She said, go deal with it. So I finally went out, and he was hustling one of the neighbors, and I confronted him, got my money back, and said, you really shouldn't be doing this. You're just stealing people's money. Times are tough, but it's probably time to move on, and scoot. Not a good idea, okay? So why don't you take off? So he just keeps going. So I went out and confronted him again. I gave him my card and said, come on, it's time to go, okay? You need to get out of here. You can't be doing this. So I left, went back in, and he kept going, made a loop. So then I got tired of it, and I called the sheriff. And it took over 20 minutes to get somebody out there. And when he finally came, he said that when he got the call, he was right up the intersection of my street and was like right there. So it was a little different before. So I don't know what's going on, but it took over 20 minutes on that one, and I had a guy out there. So,
She had somebody actively trying to get into her home, ramming his body into the glass doors. I got she called me from Hawaii. We had a complete conversation from Hawaii so that I had all the facts from her perspective. I'm not interested in the specific incident. I'm interested in the 20-minute response time when we pay $1.2 million per year for sheriff's coverage, and the fact that she was actually told it's shift change. They're coming from Santa Ana. They're coming as fast as they can while she's on the phone.
Well, she's told by dispatch. Let me clarify that. That may not be completely accurate. And unless I can look up the call specifically and look at the CAD, I don't know what went on at that time. But shift change is at 6. So at 5:30, we still have deputies in the field. I can't speak to where they were at. And as far as Mr. Barnett's incident, they prioritize things, and again, I can look at specifically at that CAD call, CAD meaning computer, that's how dispatch is everything done by the computer. If that deputy claimed that he got the call he was at your street, they came out as a priority 3 maybe, and they had all these other calls, and when they gave it to him, I can't imagine it's 20 minutes.
My recollection was that I got something to the effect from the dispatcher of he's on his way, and then the next one was they're busy. And then the officer tells me, I was right down the street. There was a little mumble. It was kind of
Again,
Well,
I
it started
I can
before I
look
got
at the
it,
computer and figure out pretty much exactly how that happened.
It just
so.
does seem kind of odd, take 20 minutes to,
I think we all understand that law enforcement's stretched thin, and there's a lot of issues that are going on right now, but that was one where she was actively scared. Okay, yeah, you've got a guy, ripping
mine's
you
not
off,
like
but
this.
somebody trying to
Yeah.
break into your house at 5:30 in the morning,
But yours sounds like a priority one.
It
which would
should
be-
have been.
Which would be lighting
but
the
she,
sirens.
but they
so
were
I don't-
coming from Santa Ana, that's what I was told. I would like us to dig into that. I'd like to understand how shift change occurs, and if there's room for modifying that so that we don't have that lack of coverage. But to speak to your specific situation, there are several streets where people who've lived on the street have taken it upon themselves to ensure that everyone on their street is on the Do Not Solicit registry. So if there's somebody going door to door, they shouldn't be going door to door. So, enforcing that Do Not Solicit registry is an important
this
situation
is
for us as
blatant
well.
fraud.
Yeah,
I mean, this has nothing to do
fraud.
with it. This is just blatant fraud.
Are you on the Do Not Solicit registry?
I think I am, but
Well, then he shouldn't have hit your
frankly,
door right away. He's not kosher.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make any difference, because this guy couldn't care less whether I'm on the list or not.
He doesn't
He got dropped off by somebody at the end of the street, they gave him fraudulent documents, and he went around and sold them to everybody, and then when I confronted him as a city council rep twice, he blew me off and just kept going and kept walking. And he took so long walking that even though it was 20 minutes or 30 minutes before they found him, he was still on the street doing it.
Well, I don't try to take law enforcement in my hands. I call the sheriff, and they usually are pretty responsive to those kinds of things, door-to-door things. Anyway,
If I can get specifics on yours, Ms. Polly, I'll make sure I look into it along with the report. Yeah.
on shift change, how that occurs.
I mean, the specific call that you're referencing.
I will give you the specifics offline. I don't want to mention it in
Right,
public.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Lieutenant Gunzel. Okay, now we move to the time for oral communications on matters not otherwise appearing on the agenda and within the jurisdiction of City Council. If you wish to address the City Council, please step up to the podium, state your name and address. Oral communications will be limited to 3 minutes for individual speakers. Do we have anyone that would like to speak tonight? I see one.
Greg Rath, R-A-T-H-S, 26551 Mayside, M-A-S-I-D-E, Mission Viejo, California. You have a great city here. I got here like 20 minutes early. I already met Mo at Wayne's and Dan, the box man, over here at the Post, and Billy. And so I know that Jennifer's concerned about animals, and Michelle was very kind to tell me just to wait till you guys were done. But the reason I'm here, my name's Greg Rath. I'm a resident of Mission Viejo, but I'm also a resident of the 45th Congressional District, which Villa Park is a part of. You're up the north, I'm on the south end. I love California. I love Orange County. I came here in 1978 as a young first lieutenant at the Marine Corps Air Station El Toro, flying the F-4 Phantom, and I served 30 years in the Marine Corps, retiring in 2004 at the rank of colonel. I now want to represent you in Washington as your U.S. Congressman, because things are not right in America. Things are not right in Washington. I'm running for the 45th Congressional seat, and Villa Park obviously is right in the middle of it, or on the northern end of it. There are 3 of us in the race so far that are declared. I'm the only one that lives in the district. I've talked to other people, I've been to every city, and I can relate to the people. I'm a Republican. I consider myself an independent thinking Republican. I believe in a strong national defense. I will defend the Constitution. I believe in freedom and liberty, low taxes, and I will do what it takes to lower the national debt. I am a citizen. I'm not a politician. People have come to me and say, get out of the race. Take your wife on a cruise. Why are you doing this? You're crazy. You're an amateur. But that is not me. I'm retired, I'm healthy, and I want to fight to represent you. Why? Because I care. I care about you, the people of your city, and the people of the 45th District. Allow me to be your voice in Washington. I plan to distinguish myself from the field. I believe I'm the model that our founders believed in as their representatives. I am beholden to no special interest group. And I will do what it takes, and do what is right, even though if it's not popular. As a proven leader of Marines in battle, I will carry that same level of courage, honor, and commitment to the halls of Congress. I know how to lead, I know how to gain consensus, and I know how to get things done. It is time we stop electing politicians to Washington whose courage is not an attitude, but just a word. Commitment to our country and our Constitution must be paramount. It is this country that has blessed each and every one of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. I wish you luck.
Thank you, sir.
Once. Any other speakers tonight? Actually, you would come under your item when it comes, well, your item's going to come up in a little bit, and I'm going to pull it anyway, so hold on 1 minute. Any others? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. We're going to consider the consent calendar. All items on the consent calendar are considered routine and are usually enacted by one motion, approving the recommended action listed on the agenda. Any member of the City Council, staff, or public may request an item to be removed from the consent calendar for discussion or separate action. I know I want to pull item 8. Council members, do you have any other items you'd like to pull?
I'm going to pull item 10
Okay.
for clarification.
I'd like to pull item 7.
Okay.
I'd like to pull items 2, 3, and 9.
2, 3, and 9.
It's a budget buster. There's no consent calendar left.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it just
Not for
isn't,
this consent
consent calendar just disappeared.
Consent
All right.
calendar.
I'll make a motion to move the balance.
That's good. Second. Did you second that, Greg?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So it looks like items 4, 5, 6.
4, 5, 6.
That's it, right?
Yes,
No,
sir.
And 7.
7 was pulled.
Yep.
Pulled it.
We're talking about the
we're-
balance
the
that's
remainder,
being
the
moved
balance.
right now.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead, Jared.
Councilman Polly.
Yes.
Councilman Mills.
Yes.
Councilman Fascinelli.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Burnett.
Yes.
Mayor Reese.
Yes, thank you. Okay, item 2 was pulled. Deb?
Yes, this is the list of warrants. I wanted to ask just a couple of questions about what's going on here. I've never seen on page 1, at the very bottom, 1336, Division of State Architects, January through March business license. What is that?
It's the new law that we have to, for business license, we have to collect $1 for every business license within our city, and that dollar is then remitted up to the Division of the State Architect for ADA requirements. So
I thought it was something new, so it's
Yes, it
being
is.
taken up into the black hole. Okay.
We can keep,
All
we
right.
can keep like
Keep-
20,
we actually keep 60% of it.
60, it's some
Yeah.
percentage.
And
Keep what percent?
60% of the 60 cents, because it's a whole dollar. So instead of 30 cents, 40 cents. So we keep that for any improvements or anything that we're doing for ADA requirements, anything within the business license to educate them and whatnot. So that money's set aside.
So it goes to John and Daryl Axis up there.
Something brand new. Okay, very good, thank you. Moving on, flip the page. The CalPERS retirement, which we're prepaying.
Yes.
Item 2571.
Yes.
What's the total savings? Refresh my memory, I think you might have said it.
It's about $4,000.
So we save about $4,000 by prepaying all of it?
Yeah, by prepaying it.
Okay, I wanted to know what that was. Thank you very much. Have we always prepaid?
No,
I didn't think so.
we've prepaid, I think I started prepaying them 3 years ago.
Okay. And then the last question that I have is on the final page, which is item 1175,
Yes.
Oak Forest Landscape Services, and that has to do with Covington, what was happening there. That's a $6,800. We're paying that. Is there a mechanism in place where we're recovering it, and what is that?
Yes.
Yes, there's a mechanism in place to recover that fee, and shortly in the couple months when we finalize that, we'll be bringing a resolution to council. Council will adopt a resolution with all associated fees, attorney fees, staff time, the storage bin that's out back, 'cause that's where all the stuff is stored currently. So we'll bring back a resolution, adopt that, and then I'll send it over to the county, and it'll be placed on the property tax roll.
Thank you. Unless any of my colleagues have any questions on this, I'll be happy to make a motion to move the item.
I'll second it.
catched it.
Yes, roll call vote. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilwoman Polly.
Yes.
Mayor Reese.
Yes.
Councilmember Fasenelli.
Yes.
Councilmember Mills.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Barnett.
Yep.
Great, thank you. Item 3, Deb, you pulled that item.
Yes, this is our financial treasurer's report. We get this, we don't talk about it much anymore, but I just thought it would be a good thing to poll and really give some kudos, and I hope it's passed on to the Investment Advisory Committee, the way that they've, over the past, I guess we started this about 4 or 5 years ago, diversifying how we're investing the city's funds, and I think that we're just now starting to see the fruits of that investment. I also think it's wonderful that as they're purchasing CDs, they're spreading the wealth around. You know, they're not just going to one, source. And my purpose in polling this is just to point out what an outstanding job they've done pulling most of our money. I think most of it was in LAIF prior. And, LAIF is currently, paying 0.25%, and we're now investing those in fund and CDs that are paying 2.8%, as high as 2.8%, and as low as 1.39%, which is substantially more than we were getting. So if we could please pass on my personal commendation to the IAC for the work that they've done. I think it was,
chairman,
well,
actually.
but I think this all happened before he was even on the council. I think it was primarily the leadership of Bill Nelson and Bob Fautour. Bill Nelson and Bob Fautour were largely responsible for it, and we're just now seeing the fruits of it. So that was my only point in polling it, because I think it should be talked about once in a while, how we're investing the city's money to get the biggest bang for the buck that we can. Anyway, I'll be glad to move that item unless council has additional comments.
Second.
Second.
Voice vote on this one.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you. Let's see, item 7, Deanna?
Jerry, can you give us a little background on this particular home on Center Drive and maybe why we feel it needs to be deemed a public nuisance?
Yes, this home on Center Drive has been on the radar for several years since I've been here. At first it was the exterior building maintenance issues, the lack of landscaping, the dead landscaping in the front yard, and they never before used to have a gate leading to the backyard, and I believe there was an open pool or playground or something like that. This one, we received a complaint, came back on our radar. I sent out a initial courtesy notification. Within 2 weeks, the property owner failed to respond. At that point, I sent out another notification in an effort to expedite this property so we're not discussing it 4 years from now, wondering why we didn't do anything 4 years ago. Told him we'd be bringing it to council to declare a public nuisance. Failed to respond to that letter, so here we are today. Mainly it's for building exterior maintenance and the lack of landscaping for its unsightly, unkept condition.
Okay, there's a gate that was installed several months ago on the right-hand side of the property. Is it open on the left-hand side of the property also? Because there's not a gate, there isn't any sort of a barrier there.
I do not believe so, or I don't have the answer to that question.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Do we need to vote on that, Jared, or?
Yes, we do. It's a resolution.
Is it, okay, so we need, do we have a motion on that?
And tonight, all this is doing is setting the public hearing for the August meeting. So I'll send notification to the property owner again, letting them know we'll be discussing this in August, and welcome his participation at that meeting.
Okay, I'll make the motion on that.
I'll second. Oh, go on.
Go ahead, doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mayor Reese.
Yes.
Councilwoman Polly.
Yes.
Councilwoman Fasenelli.
Yes.
Councilman Mills.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Barnett.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Okay, the next item, item 8, this is an item regarding our maintenance of the city as far as the vegetation goes throughout the city. Jared, do you want to give us a quick little report on this, or I could probably explain it myself, but, and I know we have Les here that'd like to speak to this item as well. So I believe every 3 years we go out to bid for our contract. on
Yeah, this is the award contract for our landscape maintenance services. 3 years ago, we went out and awarded the existing contract to Oak Forest Landscape. That contract expires here July 31st. So over the last couple months, we've been soliciting more bids, realizing this was going to expire. Maintenance supervisor Mike Knowles approached 3 companies Tropical Plaza, Oak Forest, and Valley Crest Landscape. Valley Crest Landscape said they didn't want to bid on this project. The next two bids received were from Tropical Plaza and Oak Forest. The lowest bid received was from Tropical Plaza Nursery. However, in city staff's experience, Tropical Plaza is not a responsible bidder for the reasons spelled out in the staff report. At this point, the city council has two options. One we'll hear from Mr. Fields with regards to the conditions that were spelled out in the staff report. And at that point, it would be the council's will. You can accept his reasonings and then award the contract to Tropical Plaza, or go with staff's recommendation and award the contract to Oak Forest Landscape.
Got it.
And if I may just add some legal backdrop, so whenever you go out to bid, you by law have to give it to the lowest responsible bidder. So, and there are two categories where that's not applicable. One is where they're not responsive to the bid, i.e. they didn't add all the costs to the bid which you requested, then they're deemed not responsive. The other category was that they're not responsible, i.e. there's some factual background where the city has information that they may not adequately perform the job. So that's why the language is in the staff report about the past experience. It goes to that one aspect of whether they're a responsible bidder. If, after hearing the evidence, the council deems otherwise, it's the council's discretion to award the bid to either entity. But if you don't give it to the lower bidder, you make a finding that they're not responsible, and that's why you're going with the second lowest bidder. So that's the legal backdrop. And I know we are in receipt, which I think council got a copy of a letter from
Thank you, Jared, for getting that to us earlier today.
Disagreeing with the staff reports.
Right.
And from what I take it, the audience member wants to address some of these. So you should hear that and then make your own determination.
So Jared, just by memory, Tropical Plaza, are they $1,700 a year less? Is that correct?
It was, Tropical Plaza's bid is $1,700 a month, and Oak Forest Landscape's bid is $1,800 a month. So we're looking at $100 a month difference.
It's a $1,200 per year difference, okay.
But this is a 3-year.
Yeah, I guess it is a 3-year contract, right? That's a yearly. Does council have any questions before we invite up Mr. Fields? Okay, Les, come on up.
Good evening. I'm Les Fields, owner of Tropical Plaza Nursery, and we're located at 9642 Santiago Boulevard here in Villa Park. Unfortunately, I'm here because I feel there's been some remarks made about my company, and I take that very seriously. We've been in business for 63 years, and I think the way that this all came about was very unprofessional and very intended to cause us some harm, and I'm real concerned about that. That's probably the biggest issue. The landscape contract is secondary, I'll be quite honest with you. We bid it to get it, and I thought we did a great job on it, but there's some issues here that I thought wasn't an issue anymore. We used to be the landscape contractor from 2002 to 2010. We had a few issues with Mike Knowles. I thought we got past those. But that's water under the bridge. It's no issue. We went out to bid. We were the second low bidder. We lost it to Oak Forest. Fine. We've been fine doing our own thing. But I wanted to get back to I wanted to specifically address these, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of the reason why I'm confused and being here is because I was enjoying the home tour like everybody else. And Mike came up to me amongst my friends, came right next to him and says, "Hey, the city's going out to bid. Would you be interested in bidding?" And knowing we had a little bit of, tussle in the past, I said, "Are you serious? I would love to bid." He goes, "Sure." I says, do you welcome that bid?" He goes, "Hey, I don't care who performs the landscape maintenance. They're ascertaining some bids." I said, "Fine." So, being said, I was excited about that. We went over the bid, put it together, checked things out, submitted the bid to the City Hall. I went to give it to Jared personally. He was out. I gave it to the City Hall. I'm not quite sure who I presented it to. Followed back up a month later, and with Jared, and Jared said he was still looking for another bid, so it was still in the process, no problem. And it wasn't until this last Saturday that on my own time, on my website, Villa Park website, on my computer, when I read all these disparaging remarks by Mike Knowles, which I was completely shocked because he really felt that there was an issue. Then why did you come up to me in front of my friends with a real happy face to say, hey, they're going to have to bid, submit a bid? I welcome it. So it kind of gives me some real mixed feelings. So here we are, and he apparently, I guess, he gave the staff these 4 disparaging remarks, which I want to respond on, and then they post on the website, which is very damaging to my company, because you've taken one person's view. Nobody gave me a phone call. No one called me and, hey, Les, this is what's going on. I could have probably just sat there and talked in the office there at the City Hall and realized, you know what, that's okay, we'll pass. If there's a problem still, what's best for Villa Park is best for Villa Park. That's fine with me. But don't take information from, I guess, a disgruntled employee after 3 years, which I feel really sad if he's harboring bad feelings after 3 years. I haven't done anything in 3 years. And then to post on the website is very reckless. And that's very disturbing to me, and that's probably the biggest reason why I'm here. But I'd like to, if I have the time real quick,
go right
I
ahead.
wrote you a letter here, but I'm just going to paraphrase real fast so that others, and if it is on cable, other residents and people that would understand that I really am a responsible contractor. He mentioned the lack of supervision, and at that time, you know, Mike is correct, so we had more supervision, and I even came out myself and, you know, checked out the areas and whatnot. He had mentioned another thing, he found guys sleeping on the job site. He's correct, it was 100 degrees, and for whatever reason, I don't agree with my guys, but they, on their break time, they decided to get shade, and they were actually sitting or laying down in between the shrubs. I agree, Mike, that's not the right thing, but it was 100 degrees, it was one day, I talked to the guys, and it never happened again, and there was no subsequent complaint after that. There was no issue, it was taken care of. Now, this is from 2002 to 2010, 8 years worth, 416 days of service, and these are the things we're talking about and why I'm considered a non-responsible bidder. The other one was we damaged city irrigation equipment and failed to repair or report it. Well, what that was is we were using a hedge trimmer, trimming the shrubs on Wanda and Catella Island, on Catella near Wanda, and we nicked one of the drip quarter-inch drip tube lines. We don't maintain the irrigation. It's not a part of the contract. So we didn't know we broke it. We just didn't break it and walk away or whatnot. But during his irrigation checks, he found it and was quite upset about it, and he repaired it. And I think he repaired it. I don't think he had. I think I wrote we repaired, but I think he might have. I don't quite remember exactly, but that was one issue. And then we moved on from there. The other one he mentioned was that we always start things, don't stop. I'll be honest with you, I'm shocked by that remark. I don't even know what that really means. We've always scheduled our guys on a Friday. We worked every single day on a Friday. We never altered that unless it was a holiday or inclement weather. I thought we always communicated with Mike, regardless if he's what mood a particular person may be in. We just did our job and tried to keep it professional as best we possibly could. I do want to read this last bit here, if you don't mind. After several years of being off the contract, Mike Knowles approached me on April 28, 2013 at the Home Tour Barbecue and asked me happily if I was interested in bidding the landscape maintenance contract. Frankly, I was very pleased and look forward to presenting our bid and possibly working with the city and its staff once again. He indicated that the city was going out to bid and he welcomed us to submit a proposal. Knowing the contract extremely well and considering Villa Park my hometown, as I've lived and worked in the city for the last 48 years, I actually went to Serrano Elementary School, I was excited for the opportunity. I submitted my proposal on May 3rd to the city, and then, like I said, I hadn't heard anything until I was on the website and saw these, why I was considered a non-responsible bidder. I was floored. I feel I should have had the opportunity to present my position before those disparaging remarks were made public as an official city statement about me and my business. This is potentially very damaging to the reputation of me and my company. Competitors can use this improper assertion to unfairly compete against my company with other customers and cities. According to the staff memo, ours was a low bid. I understand that to defeat my low bid, there must be a finding that my company is not a responsible bidder, so the next and apparent only other bid could be accepted. That claim cannot honestly be made. It slanders our reputation and harms us in Villa Park and elsewhere. Why was this done? I don't understand. It appears to be very devious and premeditated. So I'm asking, I'm not asking you to award the contract, although that would be nice. I'd like to touch on that in a little bit. But I'm very strongly requesting a public apology for and a retraction of the assertion that my company is or was not a responsible bidder. And that's the forefront issue I have that I'd like to present to the council on how that was handled, why he would seek me out, why ask for a bid, entice me to bid, make it feel like everything's fine, and then present it looks to me a very responsible bid, and then come around and then cut my legs off with all these other assertions. I'd have been better off, don't even ask me to bid. But don't come and damage my reputation, my family. We've been here since 1960 over there on Santiago and Meats. So apparently we don't own the property now, but we own the rest of the block up in the house on Santiago and Serrano where my son lives. My sister works at Union Bank. I consider this my hometown. I frequent this the whole time. Billy, as we all know from Rockwell's, said, hey, I need this landscape. I don't have a plan. What can you do for me? We landscaped it. Turned out beautiful. I'm proud to drive in this center and look at things we've done, but I'm not happy to have somebody, one person, one voice, to disparage my family and all what we put together in 63 years. I will not accept that. Yeah. And in terms of in terms of the contract, I just do want to mention just a few things that are a little bit different with our company. Just as a statement, it's not a comparison. I don't mean to be a comparison, but I'm just saying that as he's making these comments about our company, you know, we are a professional outfit. Our guys are uniformed. They do show up on a truck, trailer, equipment in hand. That's not the case right now. The individual person gets dropped off, and they work alone. I don't think that's, whether you pick me or not, that's not safe, it's not the best practice. Because we have a trailer, we pick up our equipment, take it to and from. I've seen many times where the equipment is chained to the trees and the center medians. That's unsightly and it's not safe. I don't quite understand why that's acceptable, why that's not responsible. I mean, there's a lot of ways you can look at this, and I'm not here to like a he say, she say, but I'm here on principle. I'm here because he's attacked me and he's gone out of his way. I don't know why. He's enticed me to bid, I bid, and now you come up with this. So I don't have the answer for that. I don't understand how somebody could act in your employ. He's your employee, and he's out there, you know, doing what I guess he feels he needs to be done. And so that's my, so I'm asking for an apology, and I really hope that can get retracted off the website, because it's very, very damaging.
Thank you, Les. Okay, Jared, a quick question. In the past, this has been a 3-year contract and we renew it every 3. I think you wrote it up a little different this time.
Yeah, I wrote it up a little different, so we're not going through the RFP process every 3 years. This one would be the proposed contract, you know, blank who it's with. I'd suggest for a total term of 7 years. It would be for 3 years, and then at 3 years, we'll take a look. Are we happy with the contractor or are we not happy with the contractor? If we are, we'll do it for another 2 years. And then in 2 years, we'll look at it again. Are we happy with them or not happy with them? So for the potential for two-year terms for totaling 7 years. And then again, I believe the contract has a 30-day out or a 45-day out termination clause for any reason. But this is just so I'm not going through this process every 3 years.
We're definitely going to have some discussion on this item, but I would put on the table right off the bat a motion. First off, the law is if it is a responsible bidder that is a low bid, we have to give it to them. This case has some different situations that came up, but after hearing this story and talking about this today some with you, I would make a motion that we give the business to Tropical Plaza, but I would like it reviewed after the first year, and then we could fall into your 3-year deal, whatever. It could still be the 3-year deal, but I want to review it in 1 year, make sure there's no issues. But based on everything I have looked into on this, I think that would be the right thing to do.
I second that.
Okay. Any council discussion on this item?
I have a couple of comments. I'd like to know from Les whether he's had any discussion with Mike to discern, to discern what's going on and where this came from.
I think he's probably spoke mostly through Jared, not directly with Mike. Is that correct, Les?
I have never spoken to Mike.
Yeah.
Okay.
Other than at the home tour, of course.
And in
Yeah.
previous, that which is confusing, is that we've had many conversations. We've had,
Yeah.
shared last week, we've been social.
Yeah.
So that's, I'm really
Okay.
very surprised.
Okay. Any other comments, Rick?
Yeah, I just like, do we have any more on it than just what's here about this? It's kind of vague and the contractor's just advised that he doesn't know anything about it and disputes it was here for 8 years.
Just the one item you mentioned.
Yeah, the number 4 here about work not finished in a timely manner. Do we have any more information as to what that is?
Not at this time, I do not. I do not want to speak for Mike Knowles, but I can sit you down and put you in a meeting together, and he can share his opinion. I do not have any more information at this time. The landscape contract is handled by Mike. Mike's out in the field. Mike knows where to cut, where to trim, where to turn on the water. Unfortunately, we're just the middleman in this.
Well, honestly, this seems like just a few items over a 10-year period. And,
Yeah, exactly.
And that's,
Yeah.
things are going to happen.
It's minor.
Things are missed.
Very minor.
And I think that, from what I understood, I think, same with Brad, there was reaction, and I think things have been corrected. So,
Save the money.
by law, it seems to me that this is not enough to make them irresponsible. But maybe there's more, so I'm asking for that. Is there any more? I mean,
That's kind of where I'm at, frankly. If this is it, I agree with the mayor. We ought to award it to Tropical Plaza. If there's something more we need to hear, I'm happy to hear it, but this
There's
isn't
also-
enough to make him an irresponsible bidder over 8 years.
there's also a 45-day window if there's a problem, is that correct? So that things can be alleviated that manner too, which I don't think we'll get to.
No.
Agreement, 60 days. Agreement may be terminated at any time by either party upon 60 days written notice.
In paragraph 4, it's in the contracts.
Yeah.
An easy opt-out in 60
Oh,
days.
yeah.
If you do the same contract with Tropical Plaza, the concern is almost nil. Even if they were a irresponsible bidder, I didn't see that they are.
Any other council comments?
I have some questions. Okay, I just want to be clear. So Tropical Plaza used to be the city's landscape maintenance contractor from
Yeah.
2002 to 2010.
Yep.
And then we ended up giving the contract to Oak Forest Landscape in 2010. Their contract is going to
3 years.
expire at the end of this month.
Correct.
Have we been happy with Oak Forest Landscape? Have there been complaints about that?
And no real complaints, no. Mike's been very happy with them.
Okay. Well, the problem I have is that we haven't heard from Mike at all. And that's a problem. It sounds like we need to make a decision tonight because the contract is expiring, or do we?
Well, Mike and Jared have had discussions about this, so Jared
I don't
is-
know anything about it.
He's our mouthpiece tonight, because Mike ain't
And
here.
he just said, I don't want to speak for him.
Yeah, I know.
Well, pretty much we put in the report everything that we knew, so to somebody's question, there's no additional information.
So this is our information.
This is the
Well, then
information.
I would restate my motion again.
And let me just-
If we go to contract on this with Tropical Plaza, is it the same contract?
with the time tweaks that
Time tweaks.
Jared
Same-
talked about.
Same thing.
Paragraph 4, the 60-day at-will opt-out provision is in both?
Yes, it would be
Yeah.
the same contract. We just add Mayor Reese's recommendation with the 1-year initial term.
I mean,
So
And
then I'm sorry.
Fine.
So then it'd be a 1-year initial, and then 3, and then,
the way I read the mayor's motion would be a 1-year initial term, but, and
It's
come
still
back to
within the 3.
council
Yeah.
and give an update as to whether things are going good. Then you wouldn't have to rebid, but you can do a 2-year extension, and then another 2-year extension, then another 2-year extension. It's just taking the initial 3-year term, making it a 1-year term, and making the first 2-year extension optional, is the way I understood it.
Candor, why don't we just leave the contract the way it is, if the contractor's happy with it, and move on, because there's a 60-day bilateral opt-out for any reason. Either party can give 60 days notice and they're done, so why even mess with the term?
That's a good point.
we haven't heard from Oak Forest either.
a good
Did they
point.
know that this was going to be, they can see that they're being recommended, is that right?
Yes.
They can see that they're being recommended.
Yes.
And so we haven't heard from them at all. So they don't even know that this is going to be a contention. I'm going to just speak it out, what I'm seeing. I think very highly of Mr. Les Fields. I like the idea that, this is a local business, if you will, although I don't think we make any money off of tax base there, but that's okay. Or maybe we do. But this is a situation where you have a very close relationship with Mr. Fields. You're friends. And so it starts getting complicated when you're making decisions that aren't fully based on the facts before us, but based on close relationships.
But Deborah, I need to say something
Okay.
here. You mentioned that I have a close relationship with Les. I mean, what does that mean? Have I ever gone to dinner with you and your wife, Les?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
Do we have, what else would you refer to?
I'm just
That's
saying,
not
that
true.
there are relationships.
We're acquaintances,
Okay.
it's no different
Okay.
than you, Deborah, with him too. I mean, so that's not true.
All right. Well, I just feel like we haven't heard from our public works, director, the management back there. We haven't heard from Oak Forest, and it just displeases me that this whole situation has happened the way it has. We have to provide the staff report. Could there have been a better way to do this where the contractor that wasn't recommended isn't publicly embarrassed? There are many times, or there have been several times, where we haven't taken the lowest bidder, but I don't remember us ever having something in writing like this for public consumption about the contractor or contractors that were not selected. So that is concerning to me, that you were in any way publicly disparaged. That part bothers me.
All right.
But
Any other comments?
Yeah,
Greg?
but everyone knew about this meeting tonight and about the agenda here, so I think that just because the Oak Forest people are not here is a moot point. I mean, they had ample notice, so.
Yeah, and they weren't the low bidder.
I don't think that has anything to do with anything, because the question here, we're obligated to take the lowest bidder unless we have a reason not
That's
to.
right.
Oak Forest doesn't have anything to say about the competence, apparently, of this bidder, so I think that's irrelevant.
It is.
I'm a little concerned that Mike's not here, since he felt it was significant enough to do this and actually, nix the bid on an irresponsible bidder. I guess kind of odd he's not here, but I don't know did he have an opportunity to be here, or he knew this was on, or?
He knew this was on. I feel like Mike's case is presented in the staff report in the language. I don't think it would.
But that's the staff member who works most closely with whomever it is that we hire.
He's not here, and we got to make a finding, so I tend
We have a
to...
motion and a second, so I'd call for the question.
Call for the question as stated, approve the contract with the low bidder, Tropical Plaza Nursery. There was discussion of removing the initial one-year term. Do you want to keep that in?
I don't have a problem with that. You can remove it based
So
on
the
what
contract as is?
Mayor Pro Tem Barnett mentioned.
Is that okay with the second?
Yes.
Okay. Approve the contract, Tropical Plaza Nursery, which is in your staff report. It was, let me write this down. Mayor Reese.
Yes.
Councilmember Mills.
Yes.
Councilman Fasenelli.
Yes.
Councilman Polly.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Barnett.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you.
Let's move on.
There you go. All right.
So, you had asked for an apology, and it could, after hearing your story, it could have been handled differently, so I apologize from staff on that.
Yeah, and I also publicly apologize,
Right.
Les.
And just for the record, I mean, so the award of the contract is an implicit finding that you are a responsible bidder. So if anybody says that you'd be then determined that you are not, that is untrue.
Right, it's reversed.
So,
Yep. Thank you, Les.
I think the fact you got the contract kind of renders that sort of moot.
Exactly, I would say so.
The contract starts August 1st?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
We'll be in touch tomorrow.
Thank you, Les. All right, item 9, Deb, you had pulled that?
Yeah, I pulled that. That's our annual rubber stamping of the appointment of the city treasurer, and as usual, or has been the usual, the past couple of years, we've had only one applicant. I pulled this item because there was a time when we had several people that applied, highly qualified people that applied, and unfortunately, they were not given the time of day, and as a result of that, we find ourselves in a situation where we've just got one person applying. This doesn't encourage community members to become actively engaged or involved, and it really troubles me to see this before us once again. So I pull this item because I'm going to be voting no.
Okay. Any other comments?
Well, I don't know what more we can do. I think I must have read it in the newspaper 3, 4, or 5 times that we were looking for a city treasurer. I think I read it in the Villa Park magazine, to the point I didn't even know we were looking for one. I actually came in and said, Jared, you should have told me about this. I didn't know it was up, because I wasn't aware also. I find that right now, even within the city, is that we are having a hard time getting anybody to volunteer any position, regardless of what it is. If it's for the picnic, if it's for sitting up here on the city council. Okay, we couldn't get 5 people to run. So I understand your frustration. But it's not just with this city treasurer position. It seems to be with everything right now.
Well, I hearken back to a time when I first got on the council. It was I think it was my second year in, and we had 4 very qualified applicants for volunteer to be the city's treasurer, one of whom owns Swift & Swift Accounting on the Circle, so she was highly qualified. And it was the stories that you have to actually see the video to see what happened, but there was potentially some misunderstanding about calling them in to be interviewed. It was stated from the dais by one of the council members that's now not on the council that she was interviewed, and she's sitting right there. She goes, I was never interviewed. I was never even spoken to. And I know you can remember this. And there was a year prior to that, a gentleman who I don't know, he had also applied, and he looked to be competent and qualified. The problem is, if you don't embrace and encourage those new volunteers when they do come forward, particularly if they're highly qualified for the position, then you are going to create a chilling effect where you no longer have people willing to come forward. What's the point? Particular individual, Janice Borklin, with Swift & Swift Accounting, said, I will never apply again. I've never been so embarrassed and humiliated in my life. So this has happened multiple times. So I think that it's something that we need to look at all the way around, how we treat the people who are willing to step forward. And so I pull this because this has really been a concern for me, and it's not anything. It takes a lot of dedication to deal with this on a monthly basis, but you've got to renew and replenish the pot. It has to happen, or you end up just recycling the same people over and over and over again, and that's not healthy and robust for the city as a whole. Fresh eyes are a wonderful thing. So I'm just gonna. That's all I have to say about it.
And any other comments?
Yeah, I have one.
Go ahead.
I'd like to commend Dennis for his commitment. That's all I got to say. Thank you very much, Dennis. I've been in that type of capacity. It's a lot of work and effort, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate your commitment and dedication for what you're doing, and I'm just happy that you're here, and I don't see anyone else, by the way. So thank you very much.
You've done a great job, Dennis, and we do appreciate it.
With all due respect to Ms. Pauley's memory, I would like to point out that in one 2-year period, they tried very hard to offer the candidate that had went against me and was turned down to audit 2 or 3 things, and were politely told that she was a treasurer, she was not an auditor. 2 years later, they tried to create an assistant treasurer's job, again trying to give some credence to the person who had applied, and again were told no, they weren't interested in that, even though I told them the job doesn't require an assistant, and I say that with all due respect. So you can't say they were totally ignored, Deborah. Your memory, maybe your memory's better than mine.
That was after the fact, after they were embarrassed, and after there were misstatements from this dais. Then there was an effort to make reparations, which I do appreciate. But I'm saying from the get-go, new people that step forward are not always treated very graciously, and I think that does not look good on our community.
And one last thing, because I'm the oldest one here. My predecessor was in this job for 20 years.
Wow.
That's all I have to say.
Well, thank you, Dennis.
Yes.
Well, I
I
think,
greatly appreciate what you do. I see what you do. I know the time and effort involved. I don't see anybody else here, and I can't thank you enough for your commitment.
You bet.
well, Brad, Mr. Mayor, I do believe that this council, we encourage everyone to speak a lot longer than they're supposed to, so I think we're quite open here, so please spread the word.
Good. All right. I will make the motion that,
Sorry.
no, go back. I'll make the motion that Dennis Kulai remains the city treasurer, and happily.
Second, happily.
And that is to adopt Resolution 2013-3250, appointing Dennis as city treasurer for another 2 years. Mayor Reese.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Barnett.
Yes.
Councilwoman Passanelli.
Yes.
Councilwoman Polly.
No.
Councilman Mills.
Yes.
Great. Thank you very much, Dennis. Okay, item 10, Greg, I believe you pulled that?
Yes, I wanted to pull this to make sure that there is a connection between items 10 and items 12. This item 10 is a free service that, for emergencies, that we enjoy here with being part of the Orange County umbrella, but it's not a replacement for item 12 necessarily. I think we've realized the last three meetings, this council, we have a problem or an issue with notifying the entire public of our 1,700 homes here in this town, and we need to find some different ways, but I think that the Alert OC is a good way for emergencies, but for normal communications, it's not the venue that we can use. That's the only reason I want to pull that, to make sure that there is some connectivity between 12 and 10, but 12 is, I think, something we need to take a close look at. That's all I have to say.
Any other questions on that item?
10 is what we have. This is what we currently have. We're just continuing it, is all.
We have to
is all that
continue
is.
it, yes, it's
Okay.
free, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that doesn't cost
Yeah,
us nothing.
right.
So,
That's
I
fine.
move
we accept this,
Yes.
yes.
I move that we adopt this,
Okay.
or approve it, or whatever we have to do to it.
All right, Greg, I think you second that?
Yeah.
Okay.
voice vote will work on
I guess voice vote for this.
All in
not a
favor?
resolution.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, we are ready to move on to new business. We are going to hold a study session regarding conditional use permit activity. Jennifer, do you have a report, please?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Tonight, what we would like to do is talk with you a little bit about our conditional use permit process in the residential neighborhoods that we have in Villa Park. As you'll recall, this has been a subject that has come before the council a couple of times. You've raised a question of staff of how often are we seeing applications for conditional use permits for multiple space garages or height excess of the 25 feet. We've done some research for you in the past, and at our last meeting, we talked about moving forward on some cleanup items in our code. We're not quite ready to do that yet because we'd like some further direction from the council. But in the meantime, we did sit with the CDC, and we talked with them about what areas in our code today affect our residential homeowners and cause them to be subject to the conditional use permit process, and what recommendations we might make to address the code and to make it a little bit easier for some of our residential properties. And by easier, what I mean is we start to see over time a pattern by the council that these requests become almost automatic approvals. It's something that is traditional in our city to see certain applications moving forward, and the council tends to say this is something we're okay with, we'll approve it. At that point in time, it's a good idea to look at the code and determine if we want to keep the code the way it is and keep running people through the conditional use permit process, or if we want to amend the code and avoid them having to take the extra time and cost. So specifically what we're talking about is related to site coverage in both the R1 and E4 zones, building height, garages in excess of 3 car spaces, floor area ratio, height of garage doors, and detached accessory structures. When we talked with the CDC, they gave us some direction of the way that they would like to see us move forward. So tonight before you, we've provided items for you to consider. In the R1 zone, we'd be looking in site coverage to raise the standard from 30% to 35%, but maintain the conditional use permit process to increase all the way up to 40% if that was the desire of the neighborhood. In the E4, it would be consider raising site coverage from 24% to 32% and allow a CUP process for increasing over up to 38%. Building height, we would change that provision from 25 feet to a maximum of 30 feet, with the average roof line being 27. Again, this is traditionally what you're seeing with the conditional use permit process now that's currently approved almost every time that they come forward. But what we've done is to change the language a little bit and talked about allowing some decorative or architectural features that could be in excess of that, so long as they are the minority of the roof line and not the majority. In the R1 for FAR, we'd be looking at changing the standard from 40% to allow up to 45%, again with the conditional use permit to exceed that limit, and that would be through the consideration of council. In the E4 zone, it would be to change the standard from 32% to 38%, conditional use permit, of course, to exceed that as well. And then, importantly, we'd be looking at the parking standards in the R1 zone to allow 3-car garages by right, with 4 or more car spaces requiring conditional use permit. And in the E4 zone, allowing a 4-car garage by right, and rather than the 3-car that we have now, with 5 or more cars being subject to the conditional use permit. Again, traditionally we're seeing 4-car garages is what's a typical request. It's sometimes pretty rare for us to see 5 or more car garages, but that could be, again, under the conditional use permit. Height of garage doors, the CDC felt was appropriate to stay going through the conditional use permit for over 8 feet high. That's typically when we're seeing RV garages, and the concern there is that it have an appearance from the street to blend in with the architecture and not be just a big boxy oversized door. And then importantly is our detached accessory structure. The CDC would recommend that the height be allowed to go to 15 feet, and what I'd like to point out to the council is right now, if a resident wanted to build a second dwelling unit that's detached from the home, they would be allowed to do that without conditional use permit up to 15 feet in height. But if they wanted to build a pool house or a gazebo or something other than an actual unit, they could only be 12 feet in height and would need a CUP to go up to 15. So in talking with the CDC, it felt more fair and reasonable to have the height overall for detached structures to be 15 feet and then deal with CUPs beyond that. So tonight we just wanted to present this to you for discussion, see if we're on the right track, and then in August we'll bring forward the ordinance for you to consider in full detail. So if there's any questions, happy to answer them, and we'd love to have any direction or any areas that you feel like we're way off track, we want to keep the standards the way they are, or you'd like to see us consider something in excess of what we're already looking at.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'm really impressed with this. I think the CDC did a great job on this. I also know that the way we are changing our fee structure based on the study we had done, this makes a lot of sense. And I'm extremely happy to see it. It all makes good sense to me. I think it's good change myself from what I see. Greg?
Yes, I too agree. Jennifer and Tyler did a lot of work on this, and I'm very happy with it. And I know that Jared and Ryan did a lot of work too. A lot of this is also to free up our residents to get busy with their backyards and fixing up the homes that are becoming 40 years aged and more in this city. Plus, it frees up our staff a little more automatic. There's not a lot of time spent with extra reports, which we'd like to do. The only thing that I think that we need to address is some of the side structures. Balconies is an issue, that when people are sensitive about what their neighbors are building next to them, which is a very touchy subject, Jennifer, I know. Since we hear a lot about every CDC, we have something about that. I don't know how we can get by with that. So do you have any suggestions? Because this is like an open session, basically.
It is. Thank you, Councilmember Mills. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, there are several items actually in our residential zone that we'd like to look at in more detail that are not included on the list tonight, nor do we have time to bring forward to you in August. What we wanted to address in this initial run at the residential zone was the low-hanging fruit, if you will.
Yes.
Things that feel like if we correct them quickly, obviously before our new fees go into effect, that will save our residents cost and time. It will also save the council agenda from getting too lengthy with a lot of normal applications that come forward that we approve. However, balconies and storage sheds, and there's several things right now that we have in our residential zoning code that are in need of some visiting and some really good thought. So what we'd like to do is move forward with just the conditional use permit items in this go-round, and then come back with some more cleanup items, and certainly balconies is one of the things
Like
that's
an
on my
amendment,
list.
like in 6 months or whatever, something like that.
Oh, that'd be lovely. 6 months sounds great. I'm holding you to that.
We're not pushy, come on.
No.
Okay.
Any other comments?
We worked hard on this. We went through several years of what was coming up to the council for conditional use permit, and it was just the repeated items.
Yeah.
And we repeated them. So yes, at this point, there is a lot that the code does need to be fixed, but if we try to tackle our code in its entirety,
Too big.
it's
Too
just
big.
too big. So let's take, baby steps, fix what our residents right now keep coming to City Hall and applying for, try and save them a few $1,000s in their permit fees, and we'll take on big issues like balconies.
Yeah.
Well, this definitely,
Next.
CUPs are the big hitter. So
Yeah.
I think you went after the right one,
Yeah.
and I commend you guys for doing a great job. Deborah?
I have a
Yes.
brief.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Deborah's.
I have a, I'm sorry.
ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Mine's quick, and
Go
a
ahead,
brief question.
Mr. Mayor.
I hate to sound ignorant on this, but other than our two council members, is there anybody else on the CDC?
No.
No,
Okay.
No.
I'm just curious.
Deb?
it's a standing committee of the council, which is the way it is. But I, too, would like to commend the CDC. I'm very happy about the things that I'm seeing come out of the
Good stuff,
CDC.
yeah.
This is exactly the kind of thing that we should be doing, loosening things up for our residents. It's one of the last things on my to-do list when I got on the council was reviewing these types of permits. And for me, this modification is necessary in order to accept the new fee structure. I'm happy with everything as it is. This would
Really
be
good.
what I would have recommended myself. You hit the nail on the head. These are the things that Brad and I have been on the council the longest. Obviously, we've seen these sorts of things over and over and again, and they're just slam dunk. They're time consumers, and now with the increase in fees, they'll be very costly for our residents if we keep them in place. But further comment, I have one question about something. I would agree with Councilmember Mills that we need to continue looking, bite off that next digestible chunk. But for me, I would like to see us really looking at all of our permits, reviewing all of those things that we're requiring, unless they're required by the state. Why are we requiring permits from our residents? Other than to just snag another $50 or $100 or whatever, just free that stuff up. If it's not required by state, I'd like to challenge you to find six permits that you can get rid of that we don't have to then administer and charge people for and further make their lives miserable. But I'm very, very happy with the work of the CDC. This is the opposite of what it was when it was first formed. The CDC was doing things that were restrictive and controlling in nature. This is freeing in nature, and I think that's more in keeping with the sensibilities of our community. I commend you both for good work. I have a question and discussion. I want to be sure that got mentioned, and maybe I'm just a little confused. That last paragraph where it talks about finally there's one code cleanup, is that the detached structure issue, or what is that?
So currently, the detached accessory structure section of our code was brought before the council several years ago for an amendment, and it appears that the amendment didn't quite get translated from what the intention was to the code as it sits today. So there's some conflicting language that says if you are building something that's detached and under 15 feet and only 120 square feet, then you don't need to go to a CUP. And there's another section that says if it is that way, you have to go to a CUP. We want to clean that up, make it very clear and understandable as to what requires a CUP or not. 120 square feet is a fairly small structure. If it's meeting the height requirement and everything else, I think, again, given the direction of the council, we want to avoid bringing things to council that aren't necessary and don't cause a lot of heartache in the neighborhood. And so we think that that's a code cleanup that, going back to the original intention of the amendment, that would be handled by your city manager rather than coming to the full council.
So then you hope to bring both of these items, this cleanup.
The whole cleanup will come to you in August.
Perfect. I absolutely support what you're doing, and I like the way you're doing it.
Okay, is there anyone here from the public that would like to comment on this item? Seeing nobody, can I get a motion on this? I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Great.
Stephen Powell received the direction mentioned tonight, and we'll bring back. No?
It's not a roll call vote, Jared?
No, no vote on this one, it's just direction to us.
Okay, because this indicates it is.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Great, thank you. Good work, CDC. Next item, item 12, we're going to consider a contract with Blackboard Connect for citywide notifications. Jared, do you have a report?
Yes, this has come up with the communications issues in the past. As you know, for those of you who've been on council for a couple of years, we used to have the citywide mass notification system. We would call into a phone number, pre-record our message, and it would get dispatched to the community or every subscriber. Thanks. Microphone. So, with the alert MOU that we just renewed with the county, we asked Blackboard Connect, which is the company that runs that program, to provide us with a proposal so we can use their services at our leisure for non-emergency street sweepings, tomorrow get your cars off the street messages. The county, as part of their MOU, now we're back to the county, had pre-negotiated a reduced contract for this. It's $10,000 for 50,000 messages. Previously, it was $1.40 or $2 a subscriber. Now it's 10,000, 50,000 messages. And a message is one telephone number,
20 cents.
one email, or one SMS message, I believe. So what that means is any household could have 50 messages in them. Say you have a cell phone, your wife or husband have a cell phone, your kids have a cell phone. Now we're up to 5 there. One house line, maybe have a second house line, and each of you has an email. So there's 15 messages in house right now. So we can burn through those 50,000 messages pretty quickly. Maybe we have 5,000 subscribers, and it would be subscriber-based. So we don't actually have access to the 911 data on this. So if we send out a message, we only hit to those, much like the e-network, who subscribe for it.
Yeah.
Could be 2,000, could be 5,000, could be 10,000. So when you break it down, it's maybe $1,000 per phone call that we send out to the community.
Whoa. $1,000.
Yeah.
10 phone calls. Yeah. So one phone call eats up
One
50,000 messages, one message.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
We could do that, 10 times, so.
Well,
Sorry.
my daughter's school, the Serrano, or even Villa Park Elementary, they have this, they all sign up. Now, if people don't sign up for this notification, at a certain point, we just can't do any more. I mean, we have email notifications, we have calls that I know the principals come out every Sunday night with what's going on the next week when school starts. How do they do that? Is that a school system?
Same system. It's just the educational.
Do they pay this rate?
I don't know. I'm not
Curious.
Good question.
Because they do a lot of it. I mean, I've had Mrs. Larson's many times on my machine.
Sure how they have that set up. Theirs is likely through the district, and then the district has a pre-negotiated rate. That would be my guess, but I'm not too sure how they're set up.
I can't see us using this unless it's for an urgent item, and if it's for an urgent item, it's free.
It's free.
Yeah.
So I really don't know why we'd care about it.
Since it's just subscriber-based, we already have an e-network, and people can subscribe to that and get their information. So this is also subscriber-based, but we're going to spend 10 grand on it, so I'm out. I'm not into it myself. I don't see the value.
Well, but also, like, at CADC, this comes up a lot, too, people being notified. I mean, we truly want to notify our public here, but I think this cost doesn't seem to be structured the right way for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And and I know that Ryan has worked tirelessly trying to find all the avenues to try to contact all of our residents, and we're probably, what, up to 60% maybe, something like that?
On the ENET?
Or any method,
Oh, on the ENET, we have, I think, 872 or so now, and it's actually gone up.
Is that households?
With the new system, it's gone up a little, so.
It's just email
No, that's
addresses.
just email
Some of those are
Yeah.
reporters.
Yeah, we don't
Or
even
people
know.
who don't live here anymore.
But
I mean,
the
you
residents
know.
have a choice. They can sign up.
With Blackboard Connect's new system, there is the ability to kind of do targeted messages. I mean, on a limited basis. It's not like you can send out, 3 households, but you can kind of target it to a certain area. They've added that ability because cities kind of had the same thing. Well, what if it's just for a certain area? But still, you kind of run into the same problems. But they do have that ability, so.
Yeah, I think we have a wonderful e-network. If you want it, you can sign up for it. If you don't have the internet, we have a very small city. You can come down to City Hall. We have a nice, beautiful TV outside that you can read your public notices on. If you don't want to do that, you can walk in and talk to our city manager, our assistant city manager. I think the communication, we get the information out there. It is in the newspaper. How it gets there, I don't know, but it's in the newspaper. It's in our Villa Park magazine. It is in the Century newspaper that comes out once a month. Every time I open up the paper, I'm reading something lately about Villa Park. So maybe communication has gotten better. But $10,000 to make a phone call to them? No, it's just not necessary.
Well, we did challenge them to come up with ways to improve communications. They found a way. If I understand this correctly, it's a contract, 10,000 flat, whether we use all...
1,000 messages
I
only.
I understand that. Does that mean if we use 10,000 messages only, that we still have to pay the entire $10,000? You know, when we first signed up for Alert OC, when it was first brought city to city to city before the county actually absorbed it, we were paying for it, and it was pretty low rate, and we still had the ability to control it locally without any cost. And they've taken that away from us as we've signed this MOU, and now the county's, of course, bearing all the cost. I would certainly not use it to replace the ENET. You never...
No. We'd use both mechanisms.
So if we went for this contract, we're spending $10,000, we may or may not use it. You never know what's going to happen. If it's an emergency, the county gets to decide what an emergency is.
But this is for non-emergency.
I understand that.
Okay.
If it's an emergency...
It's free.
It's already going to happen.
Right.
But the county gets to decide what's an emergency.
Under the MOU, we do have the ability, if it's an emergency that's specific to Villa Park, we do have the ability to use it for that purpose. It just has to be, it's laid out what an emergency entails.
Is that laid
It's
out?
part of the contract that's there.
Is it in this MOU that we got specifically?
I don't remember if it's in the MOU or in the contract, but if you look, it's in there.
I think it might be interesting to explore, whether or not there are ways that we could be using it that we're not. If there are definitions of emergency that may be applicable.
We can look into it, sure.
I think that's one way to do it, but I'm kind of in line with everybody else. 10 grand is a lot of money to spend on something that we may or may not fully take advantage of. I do have some concerns about, I've been on ENET ever since I knew it existed, or I think since it started. And I used to receive them all the time in a timely fashion, and now suddenly, not just myself, but several other residents are no longer receiving it, even though I know it's gone out. I called Jared, I emailed Jared, I said, Jared, you could put an ENET out. Yes, this was Friday. He said, I'm working on it right now. Come Saturday or Sunday, I still hadn't received it. I emailed, and he said, I sent it, here's what it looked like.
Yeah, we've had a couple of phone calls. Actually, this week I've had a couple of emails from the same person, and Jared told me about yours. We did switch providers to a new system, essentially, called MailChimp. That's a free system if you're under so many users, which, frankly, we're probably never going to hit that limit, so free is good.
Do people need to re-sign up?
No, I imported the same list we had before, and I checked the email that I received. I checked for her that her email address is on the list, and yours as well. With this last email I sent on Friday, I had 2 bounced emails, which is fairly typical, and actually that's an extremely low rate of bounces for any email we send out. So they did go out. I know that for some reason it went to my spam folder. It could just be something in the way I put the subject line, so it might be
Or
worth
if it's
checking
coming
the spam
from a
folder
new
there,
server, it may not be recognized at certain
Sure,
mailboxes.
exactly.
too.
It is coming from a new server, so it may not be recognized as well. But I'll look into it on the MailChimp end and see if there's anything from our end that is happening. So.
Was Connect CTY renamed Alert OC?
Yeah, it was renamed to Alert OC. Then it was renamed to Blackboard Connect.
Okay, so that's the same as Connect CTY?
The Alert OC is the county program. The Blackboard Connect is a private company that has contracted with the county.
Okay.
for the
Well, I
service.
commend you for taking, our challenge to heart and going out there to find new ways and better ways to communicate with the residents.
Is there anyone here from the public that would like to speak to this item? Seeing none, do I have a motion on this?
I move we reject this.
Okay, I'll second.
Voice vote?
I think that'll
All
work.
in favor of the boot?
Yes.
Aye.
Aye. The boot.
All right.
Okay.
Let's see, we now have item 12B, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Jared or Todd?
Well, we've had some issues with our sewer rehabilitation project along Lincoln, so I'll have the city engineer address those, and then we'll talk about potential options moving forward, and as to whether the city will authorize a potential change order. Akram.
Mr. Mayor, council members,
Yes.
as you're aware, we have a sewer improvement project, and we're replacing a couple of sewer lines that they need repair due to the fractures in the pipe or due to the sags that exist on the line. One of the lines that we are repairing is on Lincoln Street, and that sewer line has several sags on the in the pipe. When the trenching started, due to the existing soil within that area, as it used to be a river bed, the soil is unstable, and as we trench, the trench keep collapsing, and it's causing a hazardous situation for the laborers, and therefore required to do a more shoring of the trench. Additionally, it's the type of soils that would require to dispose of that and export it, since it was not we cannot use it to compact it in the trench after installing the pipe. With that, we had to export all the dirt, the spoil, and also replace it with crushed miscellaneous space to be able to compact it. And in some areas, we had to put in a concrete slurry in order to protect the street integrity. With that kind of delayed the projects, and also it extending the length of time of to do the work. This will increase the cost of this section of Lincoln sewer line, and with that, we would like to recommend to approve a change order or authorize the city manager to approve a change order up to a maximum of $250,000, so in order to finalize the Lincoln sewer line, which is approximately close to 1,000 linear feet. With that, if you have any questions, we'd be glad to answer.
Malcolm, I have a question. How old is the original pipe that's in there right now?
Probably about 30 years.
Okay.
Yes.
I want to make sure that those out there who are listening to our council, that this was not something that we knew what was under the ground till we started digging, correct?
That is correct.
I mean, there was no mistake done because we didn't know what was underneath ground.
That is correct. I mean, until you trench, you can tell what's the type of soil that there is. Even with if you take a sample test, it'll be localized, and we would not be able to tell what is exactly for the whole length of the trench.
Thank you.
I have a question of our finance director. You had found some additional revenue, or that you weren't expecting, when in the last report, when you were talking about revenues, it was like 200,000 was about the same amount of money, and you're all excited about that. Do we have the funds for this, and where's it going to come from?
Yes. No, well, if you remember that this project that we're working on currently is a 2-year project.
Okay.
Okay? So we normally spend $285,000, give or take, based on the design and construction management, and then the actual construction costs. So about 285 is like the magic number that we kind of shoot for. Above and beyond, we usually go, but that's kind of the number we go for. So the 11, 12, 12, 13, that's what this project is currently. We bid out for it, expecting to spend about $500,000. Bids came in really low. It was $433,000, I believe. $433,000. So we had, based on our 7-year plan, we set aside a certain amount for improvements for the worst areas of that year, and we take care of them. However, Civil Source has done their 7-year plan, got their master plan going on, and has realized, the streets that we were going after were the highest risks. Gone after them, realized they're a little higher risk than anybody anticipated. So it has to be dealt with. Therefore, the revenue that we receive about $415,000 a year. So having 2 projects, 2 years, saying, okay, this is the keys areas that have to be repaired this year. We were waiting for the new 7-year plan to be finished. So we did 433 as conservative. Normally 285, you're a little over 550 maybe. So there's $100,000 there. We usually have a little bit of play each year because you never know what you're going to expect. So some years we go well over 285, some years we hit the 285 right on the nose.
But the money that we spend on this project must come from the sewer usage fees. So we can't take money from any place else.
And we have money set aside because of the timing of our years. So right now, the 433 is for the 11, 12, 12, 13 year. We have money for that plus extra. I mean, if you're taking your 285 exactly, you have a little over 100,000 there. And then we have our 13, 14 year, which is another 285 that we already budgeted for improvements for this coming fiscal year. So the money is in our fund, in our sewer fund, based on the revenue that's we've received in past years and current for the extra 250.
But this will definitely cut into what maybe would be done in future years.
Minor, because the 433 that we budgeted had 20% contingency. So 322 was actually the construction cost. So 65,000 was the contingency. That took care of some.
But let me add one thing to what Michelle is saying. And also by combining 2 years projects together, this gives us a more for our bucks.
Sure.
The prices will go down. If the project is too small, then the cost normally comes higher because of more mobilization costs and so on. So with that, I mean, we got a great bids this year because of the size of the project, and also our contractor was much lower than the rest of the bids. So we did kind of what we saved now because of those conditions. We're really utilizing it to do unforeseen conditions on.
What we saved, we didn't save it all. Well, that's what the money's for, and we need to do it. And there you go.
Any other comments, questions?
Let's move it on.
I would make.
Speak?
Okay.
Seeing nobody, go ahead, Deborah.
I will go ahead and make the motion that we approve
change order.
A change order, I understand that, but Jared to go ahead and execute for an additional up to $250,000 to complete
Second.
the necessary work.
Jared?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilman Pauly.
Yes.
Mayor Reese.
Yes.
Councilman Fasenelli.
Yes.
Councilman Mills.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Barnett.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, now it's time to hear individual council member information items, starting with, how about you, Greg, tonight?
Sure. Of course, you've heard about the CNC tonight that Deanna and I sit on, and of course, everyone is invited to attend those. They're always interesting. And, but I tell you what, I have learned a lot from the staff, and especially Jennifer, about the ways and means of doing code enforcement. I didn't really understand it, but now I think I'm almost getting the hang of it, Jennifer. Thank you. The second thing I also go to is the vector control. And I have to tell you that I am impressed with their professionalism at the vector control. They have a lot of folks. I think the organization's a little large, but overall they do keep the mosquitoes and the rats and the spiders out of our homes. But Villa Park itself probably gets a little more attention because we have a lot of stagnant water here. We also have a lot of elderly folks here with pools that are not maintained and are mosquito havens. Also, this is rat haven in Villa Park because we have so much underbrush. It is a hummingbird city with all sorts of different shrubs and trees, and all that helps all the vectors out there. But I do want to encourage Ryan to put on our website. We have more things about West Nile virus and other vectors that are happening around here. Also, they had a lot of issues this past Thursday. They had a new contract with the California School Employees Association, and that has a no strike clause with it, by the way. And everything else is pretty copacetic. The budgets for the Vector Control District have been remaining the same for about the last 10 years, actually. They haven't increased rates or anything else, but they've been very cognizant of their costs and kept everything in line. And other than that, that is about it, except for I did mention last time that there was a contract let for the IT communications department which has $1 million budget. They contracted for an extra $90-some thousand for an outside firm to get the word out, because how many people in this county really know what vector control is? They hired a firm, and then there was some issues about the company. Then they sold off part of it, and there was a bait and switch scenario that was discussed quite a bit past Thursday. Usually these meetings don't last very long, but it was a 2.5-hour meeting. And so people are on this and watching the bucks that go in and out of Vector. And so there's been, I think that the staff there has realized that the folks are watching just like we do here, that we want to make sure that we get our money's worth and get the word out about things that affect our residents in the county. And that's about it, as far as excitement goes at Vector Control.
Great, thank you, Greg. Deb?
Thank you. Well, it's the end of the fiscal year, all wrapped up, and I always like to look at how the City Council did with its travel and expense. For those that don't know, each council member is given $1,500 to spend to attend different events and cover parking and whatnot, with the exception of the 2 brand-new council members who shot pretty much their entire account going up to Sacramento to be brainwashed by the League of Cities. And we've learned our lesson and have made adjustments for future years so that won't happen again. Every single council member did really, really well. Of the $1,500 that I had allotted, I spent $95. Brad Reese spent $60, and Rick Barnett spent $145. Talk about a very, very inexpensive city council. I think we did a great job of keeping that under control, and there was a time where it maybe wasn't. So I'm really proud of us for doing a good job and not wasting a bunch of money on that kind of thing. I had last month, we had Lar Pierce here speaking on his book, Crazifornia, Tales from the Tarnished State, and it was a very good turnout. Many residents from Villa Park came. One of the issues that was brought forward was the response time on that specific sheriff's issue, and I brought that forward. The other one, because there was an issue brought forward about an incident upstate with a high-pressure pipeline, there was a question specifically asked about our high-pressure pipeline. We've talked about this once before. Whenever there's a big explosion, we think about it. But, you know, we've never had, and Jared and I have already talked about it, a good point of contact to come and talk to us, give us a report, who's responsible, and specifically, how are those high-pressure pipelines inspected. How often? Are they flying over them with a helicopter? Because that's not going to cut it. And we need to be proactive. We have one that's running right on the outer edge of the city, and it's significant. It could be significant if something happened. So I've asked Jared to please get on top of that. I thank the residents for, showing up for that and providing, their input to things in a more casual environment. On July 8th, I went to the foundation board meeting for the first time in quite some time to discuss with them their policy on the BRIC fundraiser and what types of things can and cannot be placed on the bricks, specifically In God We Trust, which was rejected on a couple of bricks, mine included. And they have agendized for, I think, August to bring that back and discuss that policy. I found the foundation meeting to be quite good. They had no problem meeting quorum. I'd heard complaints about that. There was very thoughtful discussion, and I actually appreciated it, and I will go back in August just for that. Deanna is our primary liaison to the foundation. Actually, you're a voting member of the foundation, so I hope we have your support that our national motto can go on bricks in front of City Hall, since the residents approved that to the tune of almost 80% of the voters. On July 9th, just so you know, I spoke up in Diamond Bar to a group of over 300 people. We've been showing Jihad in America, The Grand Deception, which has now been shown at probably 20 different film festivals. And they're winning awards for it. It was produced by a former FBI agent named Steve Emerson, and it is a very eye-opening as to some of the threats that maybe we need to pay a little bit more attention to. Following up on that, I also spent the entire day on July 13th at a national security briefing. Anyone who would like more information on what I learned there, I'll be glad to talk with you about it. I'm hoping that our council members saw the back page of the OC Register Metro page. It's an article about how too many banks can have a negative impact. The entire second part of the article is about that. I'm going to leave that for Jared to make copies for everyone to look at. Did you see it? No. I couldn't believe it. And I saw it and pulled it out, and then 3 people mailed it to me. Wanted to make sure I'd seen it. I called every one of them and said, yeah, great minds think alike. I did see it. But I do think it's worth just looking at. I thought it was worth looking at. And then I spent Saturday and Sunday in Irvine at their Woodbridge Community Center. I had helped sponsor Bringing the Wall That Heals, which is a half-scale model of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C., and also the Global War on Terror Wall of Remembrance. It was the first time ever that both were displayed in one location. There were hundreds and hundreds of people that showed up. Our Vietnam veterans, when they approach that wall and deal with it, it's a significant experience for many of them. Dr. Ken Williams from the city of Villa Park was there, and also Paula Burton with Celebration USA during the beginning ceremonies on Saturday. My son came with me on Sunday, where I was accepting my flag. Everyone who sponsors gets a flag at the closing ceremony, and my son went to the Wall of Remembrance to find a friend of his, and it was very shocking for me to think that my 22-year-old son was looking for a friend. He couldn't find him, but they have people there that were helping individuals find them. They found that individual for him. They do the rubs. They did it for everyone that was there that wanted to have that. But the best part of it was the more experienced veterans that were there to help him deal with it. And that's what it was really all about. It's a wall that heals. It was a really significant experience. I hope to have Assemblyman Tim Donnelly here in the city in the next month. He was on my radio show, that radio show on Monday. He is running for governor. He has a very strong and powerful message, and I look forward to introducing the city of Villa Park to him. Thank you.
Thanks. About a week ago, we had an IAC meeting. Rick, of course, you were there as well, and things are going well there. On June 26th, I had a sanitation meeting. A couple things going on down there is the person in charge of the sanitation district, Jim Ruth, is retired, and Jim Herberg has taken over. Both guys are just great. Just love them both. They're awesome guys. Herberg will do a wonderful job. They're working on a 5-year plan. And another thing, I went on a new tour of the GWRS, the groundwater replenishment system. Currently, Sanitation District pumps about half their secondary treated water to GWRS and half to the ocean. And we're working on pumping less to the ocean and more to GWRS. And just as a memory refresher on groundwater replenishment, it's kind of amazing how you can take toilet water and turn it into drinking water. Unbelievable process. Half of the GWRS water after treated, half of it gets pumped into the ocean barrier, if you will, down in the ground, and it stops the salt water from permeating into our drinking water. So half of this clean water gets pumped in that as a barrier. The other half of it gets pumped right up here to Lakeview Avenue in Anaheim, where those basins are. And once it's pumped in the basins, it then sifts down below into the water table, and then we well it out, and we're getting that well water here. Unbelievable. I've drank the water right from the place down there. It tastes really good. So that's it.
Well, I attended a JPIA meeting, other than my normal stuff, but to be quite honest, I don't think there was anything there that transpired that would create any great interest and warrant keeping you all up, so I am done.
That was easy. Deanna.
At the end of June, and not to bring up the fireworks, but just to let everyone know, we'll report back when it's time for it to be on the agenda. I did work both of the fireworks stands, one over at the high school and one here at Ralph's. One of them I did for the school, the other one I did as a member of the council and just volunteered my time. But it was very nice to meet the public. I asked everybody when they purchased from me where they lived, if they lived in our city, what street they lived on, and it was nice to kind of get a bird's eye view of who was purchasing our fireworks. So we'll report back on that in October. July 8th, we had the foundation meeting. What has transpired out of that meeting, Deborah, you didn't stay for the whole meeting, so you you got to leave before it got fun. But they will be performing an audit, just to give you an update on what the issue was divided, but it passed. It did pass. So we're going to leave that up to the treasurer, and he's going to pick an auditing firm, and that will be done in the next few months. In addition, they're actively looking for new members and volunteers. They're advertising. They're trying very, very hard, so if anyone has any spare time and wants to do something for the foundation, we certainly look for your assistance. And they are currently reviewing their bylaws and becoming re-educated on their corporate structure. Just over the years, it's been 10 years, they've had new members come in, and I think they just kind of forgot how they were structured, how the bylaws were written. They were maybe not amended when they should have been, and they're doing some cleanup, and they're all working together. They've got some attorneys from a nonprofit organization looking at it also, who might give them a little bit of insight as to where the foundation might go from here. So they're working hard. July 9th, I went to the Serrano Water Board meeting. They also had their yearly budget to approve, which they did. Water's low. Conserve if you can. They're not demanding that you do, but if we don't conserve, there's not going to be enough. There isn't any water going into the lake right now. So on another note, I did have a resident ask me when they receive their bill, sometimes they have an advertisement of some sort that goes into their bill. And there was one that was advertising the ban selling fireworks. That does not cost our residents any money. It doesn't cost Serrano any money, Serrano Water District. That's done as a community enhancement. You can go to them if you're a nonprofit. They like to support the nonprofits. You provide them with your leaflets, and a machine automatically stuffs the envelope with your bill. So your water bill is not affected or raised because of any leaflet that's put in there. And the community development meeting, we've already discussed that, put on the agenda. That's it.
I have a question. Are there any specific things that the foundation has coming up, events where they're specifically seeking volunteers to help support that? Is there anything that's...
Yeah, they have a pet adoption day coming sometime in October. And if someone would like to volunteer that or has any services, they certainly, I think Carol Stone is taking care of that. I could be wrong with who's doing it, but I know Andy Mills is one of them taking care of that. We also have a movie night coming up, which is the week that school gets started, I think it's August 24th.
23rd.
Huh? 23rd?
It's the Friday, right?
Yeah, August 23rd at Serrano. The foundation will be having a movie night. It's lovely. It's outside. They have food, big screen. It's a nice family event.
Great, thank you, Deanna. Okay, finally tonight, do we have a report from the Villa Park team? Jared?
In branching off of the pet adoption day.
Jared, excuse me.
Sure.
I also want to remind everybody about the Beatles night that Jill was talking about from the foundation, too. That's a big deal.
The Brits are
So
coming to town?
please bring your money as a voluntarily bring your money and attend.
The pet adoption day will, hosted by the foundation, will actually be behind the block wall on Fitching Ranch Road. We thought about here in the town center, but the black asphalt would have burnt their paws. So now it will be in the Greenbelt. I think it's a good location. We're going to do a little outreach to the neighborhoods and let them know that we'll be out there. I think it's October 19th for, 3 to 4 hours. The new fee schedule is going in place September 1st. Ryan's been working on a code enforcement / building permit online software, and I think that was one of the fees that Mayor Pro Tem Barnett touched on today. So that will be online here pretty soon, and we're very excited about that. Get rid of the old, outdated, antiquated, handwritten permitting system. Be able to do it online, print it out, and should be off and running with that.
What was the 12 terminals, Jared? The bill had 12 $250 units.
Which bill?
I work.
I'm not sure. I'd have to review.
It was a bill for $3,000. I have it.
The company we contract with for the permitting software, and I use it for code enforcement tracking as well, is called iWork.
Right.
It's a cloud-based system that makes it easier for me to do out in the field and easier for contractors to view their information and allows us to track the permits. It's basically $3,000 a year for the whole contract for it. What we previously were paying for our GIS systems, which we weren't really using, we kind of just converted that, got rid of that contract and brought this one in to do something we're actually using. So it was sort of a wash, except we got more benefit out of it, and it makes it a lot easier on the tracking in for Michelle and myself, and then it'll also make it easier for contractors and things.
It says quantity 12 at $250 per unit. Do you have any idea what that is?
12 months.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it's an annual contract, so.
Okay.
That's great.
Yeah, sometimes
That's great.
they could be a little more clear.
Been a busy month.
Okay.
This was a light meeting. August will be pretty heavy. For the benefit of the community, if anybody's still listening. Chase will be coming back. They request to be continued another month while they talk to the powers that be. So Chase will be on the next month, as well as yes, thank you for reminding me, the CUP ordinance and the requirements.
And they are digging up the station, right? It's there's.
They are digging up the station. They're removing the tanks. They pulled them out of the ground this week. We got some phone calls from interested parties who wondering what's going on and when the gas station closed.
When?
And when it closed. So that was an interesting one.
Maybe they didn't use it very much, did they?
Rumor has it we're going to have an interesting proposal this time, too.
I expect that.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
All right.
That means new tanks can be put in, correct?
Make a room for larger tanks, right?
There you go.
Volume.
Better seals, yeah.
Okay, with that, we will adjourn. Our next regular meeting will be on Tuesday, August 27th at 7 p.m. here in council chambers. Thank you and good night.
Look at that, 9:15.